right, welcome, welcome. This is a very special episode of Slice of Pie with Mrs. Pie, presenting Elevate Your Brand. And this particular presentation is created for our veterans and military spouse community. And we're just going to touch on what we're calling a live boot camp on personal brand. I'm really excited to be able to basically do a brain dump, and the intention is to really help this particular community be job ready, building brands that help them to find jobs, to stand out in their different roles and companies, and help you kind of transition into your new opportunities. So there is a presentation. There are slides I'm going through. We do offer a broader course on Teachable that covers personal brand for veterans, but this is kind of the summary version that we're offering. I am here to take questions, so if there's any questions, please drop it in the chat. Even if you're catching this on the replay, I will come back to you. Feel free to drop a question. But again, the intent is just to get some information out there to our veterans, and hopefully, this will help you. So as I always do on all of my Slice of Pie with Mrs. Pie's episode, I do play music in the background. It actually helps me to stay focused a little bit. And sometimes, the information can be a little bit dry. So y'all, this keeps me going. So, all right, so let's get into it. So just by way of introduction, this is just a slide I dropped in. I've been around for quite some time, obviously a little bit over 30 years in the corporate space, but this is truly an area that I enjoy. So along with, basically sharing my expertise and knowledge to help others, nurturing employee values and culture and all those things, this is just something that I love to do. So I'm really excited to be able to share what I know about branding to help our veteran community. So we're going to cover for the next 20 minutes or so is we're going to touch on what is personal branding and why you even need it. I'm going to touch on something called the 3 C's: connect, collaborate, and communicate, and how do you do that effectively as you're building your brand. I'm going to talk about how do you then promote your brand, and then trying to stand out with the transferable skills that you've learned within your military career, and how you kind of transition those same skills as you're selling your skill set in a private sector. So just what is personal brand? It's basically, what it says here is it's marketing yourself, as in your career as an actual brand. So I think a lot of us, when we think about branding, if you think about from a company perspective or what a lot of us are used to, we know brands like Nike or Target or Amazon, and immediately comes to mind, we have an expectation of the type of service that those brands offer. When you think about from a personal brand perspective, it's kind of similar in a way, in the sense that people know you by your results, they know you by your reputation, and so it sets up a level of expectation of what you have to offer, and you end up becoming your brand. So it's an ongoing process. It's not something that you just start out today and then that's it. It does take work. It's something that you do have to put some time into it, and I'm going to cover some of the things. And again, when we talk about personal brand, we're not talking about just showing up on social media and how you look on a post. We're talking about things that help you build and showcase your skills, and this is kind of the why. How do you communicate what your strongest values are, whether it's to your employer, to your family, to your community, and then leveraging that to give you a more competitive advantage, whether again it's a job seeker or again just doing other things. So I always talk to people about personal brand, and I always say that you are your brand. Like, I am my actual brand. No one can replicate me. I bring what I bring. I have what I have. I have the skills that I have. Maybe that's a good or a bad, but I am my actual brand. So when you're thinking about creating your personal brand or trying to understand what that is, making sure that you're owning that you are your brand. So I challenge people, one of the first things that we do is we ask people to Google themselves. And it's always interesting. If you go to Google and Google yourself, the interesting things that show up about you. And what this does is this encourages you to clean up some of the mess that might be on social media. Remember, that social media history and traffic doesn't go away. So if you are creating content or posts or liking posts or sharing pictures or some of the things that you might be doing right now that could impact your reputation, this is where you take a pause, especially if you're thinking about moving into business. A lot of veterans who are starting their own businesses, this is where you start thinking about, okay, I need to do some cleanup work, or making sure that I don't have anything aligned to me. Like, when we do this exercise with teens, and you'd be surprised how many teens would find out that their parents' companies or some events or things like that were tagged to the kids, to the teens. So likewise, I just encourage you to Google yourself, and it'll give you really good information, so you'll know what kind of cleanup you need to do in social media. And I don't mean cleanup as in like hiding stuff you posted, because that won't go away. But it's things like, if you Google yourself and you're in the job market, if you Google yourself and you're not even coming up on LinkedIn, it tells you that you really should, start creating a template or creating a profile on that platform. Your personal brand reflects your values. It's very simple. It's not something that, you can just kind of make up. You are who you are, and you tend to walk those things out. And your personal brand is in the room long before you get there. So the reputation that you have will precede you. So that's why you need to pay attention to your personal brand. And so I have a book that makes it kind of easy, but I'm going to walk through for free, y'all, just some things that you could do to help you identify what your values are and who you are. So there's a learning exercise that lists out, 4 questions. And by the way, this type of exercise has been out there forever. So this is not new territory, but this is just breaking it down and make it really simple for you. So you're asking yourself these questions: what are you passionate about? What do you want to be remembered for? Who and what inspires you? And what does success look like to you? And then the idea then is you start building out these values. So I'm showcasing some of the values that a lot of people tend to lean towards: service and being collaborative, being community focused, and things like these. These are kind of common values that a lot of folks would say, these are the ones that really resonate the most with me. And then what you do is you start to refine your list. So really, thinking about what are the 2 to 3 values that most accurately describes you, not what's, on this long list. So there's a list here, but not trying to pick, everyone's a team player, of course, we're all respected, we're all collaborative, but what are the 2 to 3 values that most accurately describe you? Because those are the ones that you're going to be living out day in and day out, in the way that you execute your job, in the way that you show up in meetings, the way that you do project plans. So it has to be realistic. It has to be authentic when you're thinking about defining what those values are. These are the things that, another easy way for you to understand or define your values is ask the people you work with, ask the people around you, what values do you think I bring? And you'd be surprised some of the feedback that you actually get. So this is a really cool exercise. Another thing that I wanted to share is something that I share with veterans is, how do you stand out on LinkedIn? So LinkedIn, when you go in and you set up a profile, you have your name and you have your company, but there are taglines, and those taglines are important because when you Google someone, this is the verbiage that shows up, and you see a lot of folks on LinkedIn will have this information. These are examples. By the way, I have a note that these roles are fictional. These aren't real. These are me making these things up, okay? But these are examples of how you can include messaging around your veteran status and include that in a really crisp way on LinkedIn. So you could be the CEO of your company, maybe you're a board member somewhere and you're also a veteran. Again, you want to make sure that you're including that language in that tagline, because that also helps you build out your network, and people will kind of gravitate towards, you're a fellow veteran, etc. So then the next slide I want to cover is, I want to talk about the C's that I talked about. Is, again, now we're talking about building out your brand and how you show up. Okay. So consciously connecting is basically Obviously, we're all using technology more and more to connect with people. We use it to share info. We're trying to increase our visibility in the way that we show up at work. But it's really important that you're consciously and intentionally doing this. So, thinking about how our customers are connecting with us differently after the pandemic, rethinking the ways and the different touch points. So, consciously connecting is really just about making sure that you're courting efforts that's aligned back to a broader strategy, being consciously aware of how you're using some of the technology and the ways that you're doing it. So just being conscious and aware, not just connecting for connecting. If you're if you're a job seeker, don't wait until you need a job to start building your network. Consciously connecting, meaning if you're looking to move into a specific industry, start reaching out to people who are in those jobs you want to get to now. Don't wait until you've exited from the military. Start building those networks now so that you're not trying to come from behind, but being very intentional about how you're connecting and who you're reaching out to. Collaboration with purpose. So again, collaboration. So there are multiple ways that people show up on LinkedIn, and these are a couple of examples that I wanted to trot out. The first one is someone who's considered a trusted advisor, and I'm saying LinkedIn, but these are things that you could do, on your job today. So a trusted advisor is someone who is really focused on establishing themselves as a leader. Their focus is on the company's bottom line. And they're really looking to, advance beyond what the basic requirements are for their jobs, right? But they're a trusted advisor. So they serve in a different way. A thought leader could be someone, and a lot of people are thought leaders, but you're very knowledgeable. You kind of know your area, and you're sharing that information out. So we call it valuable insights. And your intention is to be a part of the change or influence the change. So for example, if you are coming out, say you're transitioning out of the military and you have some incredible skills, and you start, positioning yourself, that this is your brand and you're positioning yourself as a thought leader, you can easily start writing articles that share some of the valuable insights and knowledge and expertise that you have, and teaching people how to use it in the private sector. That helps you build your brand as a thought leader, and you're going to have more credibility. You're going to end up having more relationships, and those become more of a priority than just being someone who's an advisor. So collaborating with purpose and being really intentional about how you're building those relationships, I call them relationships of trust. You have a perceived value and you're meeting a need. So you're not just showing up as someone who's just, floating things out on social media. And then communicating effectively. Again, we're going back to brand and how you show up and how you're perceived. And so the thing that I usually share with people is you have to shift from what I call the benefit of knowing to sharing the information. So right now, I have the benefit of knowing about personal brand and how I can help you elevate that. But now I'm shifting from the benefit of knowing to sharing that information. So there's an action behind it. A lot of you guys have the benefit of knowing your expertise, and it's up to you to shift to sharing that information and then communicating it effectively. The information that you provide should have some kind of value to the business. So now you're thinking more strategically about a problem that you're solving, or how are you impacting the business, right? Going back to that advisor, and then being clear and consistent. So if you're sharing information out, and again, don't wait until you need a job, okay? But if you're sharing something that's really clear and consistent, and people can understand, okay, this is John and this is what he's known for, and he did X, and now he's sharing some of this information. That's how you want to position, how you communicate it effectively. Delivery. Is your delivery destroying your message? Listen, sometimes, sometimes we share things out, but we miss the message. And sometimes there's value in the message, but we destroy it because of how it's being delivered. So, this is just really being thoughtful about how are you delivering your message, and what is that message that you want to share. So here's an example of building like a brand type, message that helps elevate my brand. So branding is an area that I love, and it's obviously something that's an expertise of mine. So I go out on social media, and as a part of my networking, I will start sharing. Here are 3 tips about how to elevate your brand, right? So I'm clear and consistent in that message. This is an expertise that I have. I'm not destroying the message because I'm keeping very close to my expertise. I'm not confusing people. And then the mediums that I'm using, so for that type of message, I might put it on LinkedIn, or I might, drop free tips on Twitter, and that's it. So I'm supporting my brand. I'm staying authentic to my brand. I'm being consistent in my message. I'm providing a value. And so I've shifted from the benefit of knowing these 3 things to sharing that information. And that, my friend, is how you build your personal brand. One of the ways, okay? All right. So now we're going to shift to what I call speak, write, and network. And again, I'm going to keep saying these words intentionally. Speaking with intent. So when you're communicating, it's really focusing on the priorities. So again, when you're transitioning into the corporate arena and you're coming from a military background, these are really key, because it's a different ball game when you're shifting and transitioning into this atmosphere. It is different. So being very intentional and making sure that you're focusing on the priorities. These are skills that you already have. So it's just, reiterating that this is what you're going to take into the marketplace. Thought leadership, really talking about your expertise, and then considering your audience. Don't use military terms in civilian conversations. Okay? Do not use military terms in civilian conversations. All right. Remember that you got to know your audience. Write with clarity. So back in my day, I used to be, one of the jobs I had, I used to be an engineer, and blogging, before it was cool, was something that I used to do, and I called it my backup brain. And I think all of us, we have so much information in the noggin. And so what do you do with that information? So I used to write or blog or write out the processes that were pretty useful, and it ended up being used for various technical publications. So as you're thinking about some of the information that you think today that you don't need, you absolutely will, make it a point to write out some of these things that are, maybe processes or things that you found really useful, and I'm considering it your backup brain. Think about some of the military publications that you could be sharing some of this information with, or colleges or students. But again, just being really clear about, what it is that you're communicating, whether it's to your clients or your managers or your peers. And then the other thing is networking with a goal. So I don't know if it's just me, but after the pandemic, I really had to rework my networking muscle in person. I felt like I killed it on Zoom. I had it down. But when I had to go back and meet people in person, I had to be more thoughtful. Hi, Fraser. Thank you. Absolutely. And so I just want to, throw out networking with a goal. So when I go to a networking event, and by the way, everything is a networking event. Okay. So when I go to a networking event, I really have 3 things that are in mind. So one, I want to learn a new technology that I can take back to my team, if that's my goal, right? So is that a goal? I want to learn something new that I can take back to the team. I want to meet new people, and I want to exchange ideas. I don't just want to meet someone. I want to be able to build a network, right? So I want to, in the future, exchange ideas. So that means I'm connecting with that person on LinkedIn. I'm reading some of their posts. I'm interacting with the information that they're sharing, and I'm building a relationship. And then I'm expanding the mentorship and sponsorship community. And that's really important, especially again, as you're transitioning from the military and you're coming into the corporate space. It's really important for you to have mentors. And so there's a ton of organizations. I'm just going to throw one out, the Rosie Network, which is amazing. So for those of you all who are looking to, or you're transitioning, or your military spouses, and you're looking to learn how you can build up some of these business acumen and work that networking muscle, definitely check out the Rosie Network. They have a ton of free resources to help. Now, transferable skills, and we don't have too much to go, but I just want to, again, I wanted to make sure I gave you guys the bite-sized summary. The full course is on Teachable. I just want to make sure, though, this is free, co-sponsored by Parade Deck. Hello, Parade Deck. Loving Fraser Planning Service. Thank you for showing up. And these are transferable skills that, these are the skills that help you do your job very well. And it doesn't matter what the job is. So the most common ones we know: leadership, technical acumen, strong communication skills, being able to use critical thinking, multitasking, teamwork, creativity. These are skills that you, as a veteran, you have in your back pocket. These are amazing skills that you can take with you. And so as you're thinking about looking at that new job, the new career, the new company, and you're sizing yourself, what is it that I can bring to the table as a part of my personal brand? These are some of the skills that you need to make sure that you're included in that. And so I have a slide in here that talks a little bit about, transferable skills when you move from military to civilian. And so other skills that you have and you should be really proud of. And by the way, these are skills that you should be spotlighting, highlighting, leaning into, and owning, okay? Competitive. So you have a competitive drive to perform and exceed expectations, collaboration and teamwork, ethics and integrity, strong leadership, and effective communicator. I'm going to pause on this slide, take a picture if you need to, or watch the replay. These are skills that you absolutely need to be calling out in your interview process time and time again, because this is absolutely going to help you. These are real transferable skills for folks within the military space that you have, and you can master it in a civilian role. Okay, so what are the key tips I want to leave? So first thing is just a basic understanding that personal brand it's not just about, having a beautiful headshot. It's not just about showing up on social media. This is really how you manage your reputation and your credibility. It's based on your values. It's based on, pick your 2 or 3, and those are the values that you're leaning into. And remember, I said that your personal brand is in the room long before you get there. People know based on the work, on your output, what to expect. So you want to make sure that as you're growing, as you're becoming more of a thought leader, as you're building up your network, that you're really leaning into your personal brand. Now, the next bullet is what you're known for. So there are brands and there are people who have experienced having to start over, and that's okay. All of us have made mistakes with our brand. All of us are learning together. So just know that it's okay for you to start over, tweak, change, and adapt, right? That's what we're going to do. So leaning into how you connect and how you're showing up and being intentional in the way that you collaborate and the way that you communicate is really important. And the last thing is, don't forget that you have transferable skills that will qualify you for the new job in the corporate arena. Don't forget what you already know. All right, so that's what I wanted. Exactly. I love to pivot. Exactly. That's the last slide I've got here. You're welcome to scan. The QR code takes us to the Parade Deck site for LCM Group, and there you can find all of our channels listed. We have a lot of shows and books and all those things. But most importantly, I just wanted to make sure that our veteran and military spouse community has access to incredible information. This is free information that's going to help you really elevate your brand and help you get to whatever it is that you're hoping to achieve in your careers. So with that, I want to thank everybody for watching. We'll be posting the replay on our YouTube channels. It's live now, so it's already out there. And just come on back and make sure you love, like, and subscribe. Please like this video so that we can get more eyes on this for our veterans who need this information. And we want to make sure we get it out to kind of everyone. So thanks for watching, everybody, and have a fantastic day ahead.